Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where it has been another very, very busy day on the Barca front. Coming up, we have all of the reaction to the Champions League draw. The league phase has now been confirmed and Barca have some amazing games. Genuinely, guys, I'm very, very excited about some of these matchups. We're going to be talking all about what's in store for us, but of course also today we have the very latest transfer news. We've got an update here on registrations, on more exits that may be finally about to happen at Barca, and the latest, of course, on the future of Fermin Lopez. It is all on the way for you. Get yourselves ready and let's get to it. But if we do start first of all then with some official news coming in from the club, and this came through yesterday regarding Inaki Pena, because obviously all summer long we've been waiting for his future to sort of iron itself out. He's wanted out of the club since the end of the season. He wants to go somewhere and play football. He doesn't want to be, on the sidelines. He doesn't want to be a third goalkeeper at Barca. So right here we've been trying to find solutions, and it's interesting because his contract was set to expire at the end of the season there in just 1 year's time, and Barca have now renewed him until 2029. So they've actually handed here Inaki Pena a brand new long-term deal. Now, I wouldn't imagine that the numbers on that one are miraculously high. It shouldn't be a big contract for the club, but at the same time, there is a little bit of surprise at that, because it's interesting to see where he fits in really in the long-term picture at Barca, because right now they have immediately loaned him out to Elche, one of the newly promoted teams in La Liga this season, and what you'd imagine there is that he is going to get a lot of opportunities to impress as a goalkeeper, because it's quite interesting actually, when you go to a smaller club as a goalkeeper there, you do get more chances to show your ability to be a very impressive shot stopper there, because he is going to be very, very busy in the goal of Elche. It's going to be interesting to see how Inaki Pena gets on. Of course, it was a really tough second half of the season for him when he was replaced in the team by Szczesny, but like I say, he is 26 years old, still relatively young for a goalkeeper. Do you think, guys, that he has a future here? Can you understand here why Barca have renewed him? To be honest, for the long term, that's something to consider in the comments down below. Because speaking here in terms of exits at the club right now and players there who are going to free up a little bit of FFP space, can this help to get some of the players who haven't been registered yet over the line? Well, Pena is out of the door, and following him very, very closely there is going to be Oriol Romeu. Now, we have been talking about this for several days. Barca have been in the process there of negotiating with him. They're basically trying to buy him out of that contract there to pay up the rest of his time at the club. He's only got 1 year left on that current deal. Thankfully, they're not choosing to renew Romeu for another 4 or 5 years. That is good news. But yeah, his contract is going to be terminated. So then we're going to have Inaki Pena off the wage bill. We're also going to have Romeu off the wage bill too. And surely then, that should leave us a bit of room. Now, what we're hearing right now is that the next person to be registered, it might be Szczesny, the number 2 goalkeeper this season. Barca are quite keen to get that done, so Szczesny is going to be the next man in here in terms of the registrations. But after that, you're looking at Gerard Martin. Hansi Flick is adamant there. He needs Martin available. He needs every centre-back option, to be honest, right now at the club. And also, of course, we're keeping a very close eye on what's happening with Rooney Bardghji, who at this point still remains unregistered. The new signing coming in this summer, that's not good to see, and we want to see that solved as soon as possible. And these exits, surely they will give us a chance. Because there is indeed another exit to bring you, but this one right here actually comes from Barca Athletic, because Virgili is going to be leaving the club. Now, you will remember, back in pre-season there at the very beginning, there was lots of excitement surrounding this young man. He'd had a really good campaign there for Spain's under-19 squad over the summer, and we expected him to play, I think, a bit more of a key role in our pre-season. We expected him to go away on the tour there, but Flick elected not to take him, and Virgili apparently was not too happy with that. And ever since that moment there's been talks with the club. Maybe it's time for him to move on, to go and play regular football in La Liga, to make that step up. And maybe one day he will return to Barca, because he is indeed going to be joining Mallorca. He did arrive today in the city. Very, very excited again, the fans are, to greet here a player coming in from Barcelona. The fee right now apparently is going to be, and get ready for this again, it's 3.5 million euros. euros. That is the minimum fee, apparently. But I think there is something here to bear in mind. That is only for 50% of his rights, apparently. So we are going to be selling here, half of Jean Virgili. Now, not literally, of course. We're not just going to give Mallorca his right or his left leg. They are going to get both of those. But Barca are going to keep control of his future there, with 50% of his rights retained. And they will also apparently have a buyback option included in that deal. So again here, guys, it's a talented young player. It's a very exciting young player, in my opinion, with quite a big ceiling. We have sold him very, very cheaply. But luckily on this one, we do have that buyback. We do have 50% of his rights confirmed. But it's quite interesting to see here, Mallorca doing some real business this summer with Barca. They have now signed both Pablo Torre and Jean Virgili for less than 10 million euros this summer. And ideally, we want them both to go there and really impress, given that we do have interest still in both of them. We do have options there in the future that can be activated, that can be really used in our favour. So we want these players to go to Mallorca, to play well, to impress. And maybe, like I say, one day, you never ever know, players can return to this club. But of course, guys, make no mistake about it right now, the major transfer story regarding Barca, quite honestly, it's all about outgoings, isn't it? It's all about sales, all about exits right now. We haven't even spoke about anybody, coming in for a long, long time at Barca in this transfer window. But yeah, let's talk about what's going on with Fermin Lopez right now, because as we know, Chelsea, they are definitely interested in him. They have held some initial talks there with Fermin's entourage to understand if a deal can happen, and there were rumours there that their first bid was around about the 50 million euro mark, and obviously that was a little bit on the low side. I think everybody was thinking, well, that's nowhere near enough for a Premier League club. We know you've got the money, you love to spend it. 50 million for Fermin, Barca should not be accepting that. Now, there have been a few rumours today in the Catalan media, especially coming from Sport here, that offer from Chelsea may have been bumped up a bit, that they may have actually gone a little bit higher than that. We may have reached around 60 million euros now for Fermin Lopez there coming in from Chelsea. But I do have to say right here, guys, here in the UK, we're hearing different kinds of reports when it comes to either what Barca want from this deal and what Chelsea would be prepared to pay. Because apparently their Barca actually value Fermin at around 60 million pounds, which I think is quite significant there, because that is actually just under 70 million euros, which I think, to be honest, all of us will be thinking, if you are even thinking about selling Fermin, the bidding starts at 70. It's quite simple, really. Do not do business for anything less than that. That's when the conversations may just start to begin. But what is also interesting right now, for those of us who think, okay, let's keep our squad together, let's make sure here that we don't sell ourselves short this season, we want to be successful out there on the field. Well, apparently Chelsea, they wouldn't pay that. If Barca's valuation of Fermin is £60 million, Chelsea would not reach that figure, according to the reports that we are hearing right now in the UK. And indeed, guys, right now in the Catalan media, even more reports going on. Fernando Polo coming out saying Barca may have raised their asking price even more than what we just said has been reported. Apparently, it could even be as high as 90 million now that Barca are looking for in terms of Fermin. I'm just wondering here, have Barca figured out that, Chelsea are not going to come in, not going to pay that big money anyway? Or have Barca just very much changed their stance, almost overnight here? Is it a case now of, actually, we cannot lose him, we do not want to sell him? And I also wonder, has Flick had any impact, had any influence right now into what the club are doing? It's very possible in the background that he's put his foot down, that he's ultimately told the club, look, in a meeting or something, you can't do that. I cannot lose any more of these players. It's very, very interesting right now to see what is going on. But I think it is also very interesting right now, quite intriguing to consider a player who is very much a pivotal part in all of this is actually Xavi Simons, because that's something here that really does have a bit of a knock-on effect, a bit of a ripple effect here on this Fermin situation, because Chelsea, they've been chasing him all summer long. They wanted to sign Xavi Simons now for month upon month, but again, they're not really happy to meet what RB Leipzig want. Leipzig apparently also want around 70 million euros for Xavi Simons. Chelsea do not want to pay that for him either. So right now, they may be looking at other options. I think that will also now certainly happen, given that Xavi Xavi Simons is being really targeted by Chelsea's rivals in the Premier League, Tottenham. They've actually made a bid. Something has gone in there very official, and they may end up getting Simons. And Chelsea now, they've got to consider their options. They've got to look at what they need, how much they're willing to spend. Will that really increase their focus here on Fermin Lopez? But what I also have to stress on this, guys, is say Barca do sell him for big money. If we've got big money coming in here, big transfer fee, it is being widely reported no replacement would be signed for Fermin. Barca would not bring in any other midfield player. They would not bring in any other attack-minded player there. Olmo would be the chosen attacking midfielder. Barca would be putting a lot of faith in him and his body, of course, to hold up over the course of the season if Fermin was to leave this summer. There's also the option of Gavi, of course, who can play more advanced, but we're still yet to fully see him take on a role, really lock down a position, and especially there, a more offensive-minded one. Is that something that Gavi could really adapt well to? But aside from that, if Fermin was to leave, the man who would really be asked to step up in his absence, it would actually be Dro. The man, of course, who impressed very much so in pre-season there. He is only 17 years old, but he really did wow Hansi Flick on the tour of Asia. He is still very young. He is still very inexperienced at the top level. He would need time. He maybe wouldn't need to be thrown into the deep end too soon. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens right here, guys. Where do you stand right now on Fermin? The offers are coming in. The bids might be increasing a bit. But at this stage, it doesn't look as though Chelsea will pay the massive money that would really tempt Barca. And are you happy with that? If Fermin was to stay, if that is the decision that ends up being made, would that, in your opinion, be the right one? But of course, guys, we do have to move on to the incredibly big news that is the UEFA Champions League draw. But before all of that, I think it's important, actually, a big announcement has arrived today, and it may well be relevant to Barca, because UEFA have confirmed that this season, the Champions League final will kick off at 6 p.m. local time instead of the usual 9 p.m. local time. And they've said there they want to improve the overall matchday experience for the fans who will be attending the game live. They want to make it easier for families, maybe even children there, providing, of course, that they can get tickets, UEFA. But like I say, bear that in mind, guys. I think we will need to know when the Champions League final is happening. Let's hope that we will be part of it. Because let's have a look at who Barca have been drawn against in the league phase. Now, bear in mind here, these games, they are not in the order necessarily that these matches will be played. Right now, we are waiting for the schedule. That is going to come later on here. So it's important to note here, these are just our opponents, and that order is not confirmed. But guys, let's just look at this right here. Paris Saint-Germain, come on! That's a fantastic fixture. You want to prove yourselves. You want to go up against the best. And of course, in terms here of European competition, we're not really going to talk about the Club World Cup because, quite frankly, in my opinion, that's kind of irrelevant. So we're going to talk about Chelsea in a minute. But yeah, the European champions, that is Paris Saint-Germain. They are the benchmark for what they achieved in this competition last season, and we get to go toe-to-toe with them. We didn't get that fixture last season. We just about fell short of the final. We have it now, and we have something to prove early on. But yeah, that Chelsea game, I cannot wait for that. I always want to play Chelsea. I always want to come up against Chelsea. It's a great rivalry. Even here today, Chelsea players, they were asked, who do you want in the draw? Who do you want to play? A lot of them said Barcelona. Well, your wish has been answered. You will play us. And we have to show you what's what. Because Chelsea are coming into this here with a lot of confidence. They do have a lot of confidence about them right now. They have won the Club World Cup. How much weight you want to put on that, it really depends on how you view that overall tournament. We weren't there. So already, in my view, that's kind of, it's not as prestigious, is it? Obviously. But yeah, Chelsea, I cannot wait to play them. That's going to be an absolutely awesome game. But guys, can we also think here about playing Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt at home? That's actually a big game for us too, because can you remember, we don't want to, none of us want to, but can you think back to when we faced them originally, the last meeting? The Camp Nou, it turned white. They absolutely invaded our stadium. We were selling our own tickets to Eintracht fans in the Europa League. we've got to put that right, and we will have a statement to make in that game. We've got to play against Club Brugge as well, Olympiacos, Slavia Prague, Copenhagen, the team, of course, that Rooney Bardghji has just left behind. And also, I'm really excited too for that trip to St. James's Park. Now, admittedly, right now, they've got a few other things that we need to sort out. You know, Alexander Isak, will he be there? Will he be bothered to play? We don't know what's going to happen with Isak, but I cannot wait there. To go to St. James's Park will be an incredible Champions League atmosphere. That's what you want. You want these players to be tested. You want every single player here to understand the pressures of this tournament. And we've got to showcase yet again what we can do. We know what we did last season. We know how good we were, how ruthless we were in front of the goal in the Champions League. But defensively, we've got to try and tighten that up. We have to try and make sure that this time around, we can go 1 or 2 steps further in this competition. We want to win it. That is the aim. Can we make it happen, guys? Let me know your thoughts here on the opponents that Barca have in store for them this time around. Can we get through that successfully? You know, you'd hope so. And beyond that, do you believe we can win the Champions League this season? Let me know all of those thoughts, all of those early predictions down below. I will see you soon, of course, where there's going to be lots more talk. We're going to have so much build-up to all of these games. I cannot wait for that. But thank you indeed for your great support. I will see all of you soon. But until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.